The South African Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee has announced an interest rate cut, bringing the repo rate down to 7.25% and the prime lending rate at 10.75%. Meanwhile, the city of Johannesburg has unveiled its financial blueprint for the upcoming year. The Finance MMC, Margaret Arnolds, presented an 89.4 billion rand budget outlining its priorities and vision for the 2025-2026 financial year. Joining us now to unpack these crucial economic stories is our business reporter, Ntokozo Khumalo. We'll also be joined by the Joburg Finance MMC, Margaret Arnolds, as we speak about the budget that she has presented. A very good morning to you. Let's start off with the repo rate. So looking at the repo rate being cut at least by 25 basis points, and I was saying to the team, so some sort of relief on one end, but then if the EFF doesn't win their court challenge with the fuel hike, which kicks in on the 2nd of June, does that somewhat erode what you have essentially been given by the Reserve Bank?
I suppose South African consumers should be used to it. Good morning, Aldrin. I think we should be used to that playing field now, because it's been playing out for at least the past 2 years, where you make a little bit of a saving on one side, but on the other side, inflation or the cost of living is rising at such a high pace that, you know, you use that saving elsewhere. So it is a little bit of in the budget robbing Peter to pay Paul. But that scenario has been playing out for quite some time. And the Reserve Bank Governor did touch on the fuel levy, and those, you know, they are offsetting issues that have sort of, you know, eased their concerns when it comes to the impact of the fuel levy on consumers and the inflation trajectory of the country. So they're confident that inflation will remain cooled at just about 3%, 3.5% or under that. So for Governor Kganyago, not so much of a concern right now, because we did see the rand sort of improve and strengthen after all those U.S. trade tension issues and the meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump and President Ramaphosa. So not so much of a concern for the Reserve Bank when it comes to that. But for South African consumers who've been under that financial pressure, it is a matter of just finding a way to juggle the budget as nationally we've been having to do.
Because it's also about this, the issue around the cost of living that is on the rise. And as we were saying, that we haven't had, for instance, a fuel levy increase for the past 3 years. And when Minister Inokotongwane made the announcement, there was some backlash to that, and people saying that what the minister is essentially trying to do here is to try and raise money from somewhere else, considering that the VAT didn't get the political support. How do you read into this, and also what it means at the end of the day for what you and I are going to pay at the till?
Well, I think what I had to do is juxtapose all these different pieces of data, because we did have the budget, which gives you an indication of where the National Treasury thinks we are economically. Earlier in the week, we also had the General Household Survey out of Statistics South Africa, which paints a picture of the general household in the country. And I think the interesting data there were 2 points for me, Aldrin, was the number of households led by females, as well as the number of households that rely on social grants as their main source of income, and any other income that they do get, usually coming from unsecured debts with high interest rates. So those sort of the people that the National Treasury, Reserve Bank have been saying they are working to protect those people. And I did speak to Nedbank about that segment of consumer and how they are being impacted by not just the interest rates, but everything else that's happening in the economy. Let's take a listen.
Women-led households are particularly sensitive to interest rates whether changes, because they typically have less financial cushioning. So I'll give you an example of a single mother who would be managing a bond, a car payment, school fees, and every basis point change directly affects her monthly budget. So in the end, I think sometimes, you know, whether we're economists or bankers or, you know, we're, you know, financial journalists, the real story, families making real sacrifices. So there might be a number, but it really does actually directly impact their monthly budget.
Okay, so that is the perspective that we got there. I want to now bring in Margaret Arnolds, who is the MMC for Finance in the city of Johannesburg. She recently just tabled her budget speech, which was voted on yesterday. MMC, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. On the back of that comments and the comments coming from Nedbank, as well as what Ntokozo has just indicated now as well, looking at the general household survey, you indicated in your budget as well that the city of Johannesburg is the most populous in the Southern Hemisphere, 6 million people, and that number growing by the thousands every month. Speak to us about how you are then able to try and cushion the poor, number one, but with that cushioning of the poor, ensuring that the city still has an income revenue that it's able to take care not only of the poor, but everybody else within the city.
Good morning, Elton, and good morning to your guest in the studio and to everybody else. Elton, I think, as I said in my speech, that this budget is a people's budget. It's not a budget that was crafted in the corner of the city of Johannesburg offices, but we went out on the IDP, and that is where we got the budget from. The people spoke. The people said, we do not trust our billing system. The people said, we are tired of water and electricity not delivered to us. The people said, we are tired of not having decent roads, and that is what we are working on. We are currently saying to you that we have about 3 billion that we are plowing in and giving back and reallocating to the historical neglected communities. We are also working on our ESP, which is our extended social package, so that we don't burden the old and we don't burden as was said earlier on, there are women-headed homes, there are child-headed households, and we don't want to burden them with all the all the services that all the payments that they are unable to pay. You know, our older people have been the people that build the city of Johannesburg, and we don't want to burden them. Thus, they are the rate rebates, and we are ensuring that we speak to those people. So yes, Aldrin, we are having a pro-poor, pro-growth budget that will speak to everybody in the city of Johannesburg, from the poorest of the poor to the richest that we have in the city.
Yeah, and MMC, I'm joined in studio by my colleague Ntokozo Khumalo. She's got a question for you as well, based on the budget that has been delivered.
Good morning, MMC. Just a quick question. The budget is crafted around the Reserve Bank's growth forecast of 1.7%, but we did see yesterday that they revised that growth down to 1.2%, which is even lower than the revised growth of the National Treasury. How would that then impact sort of your expenditure and the revenue collection over the year, with growth being even more muted than the expectations?
Well, we need to work around it in a way, in a very smart way, so that we are able not give our people the burden. But I do believe that as the city of Johannesburg, we have all mechanisms in place. We have MSCOA in place as not completely 100%, but we have MSCOA in place, and we are at a point where we are saying that we know that we are not where we should be, but we are going towards that. And I think as the team that we have in the city of Johannesburg, we are definitely able to navigate our way through that. And I do believe that we will be able to bring in more for the city of Johannesburg, but also we are fixing our billing system, and that should be part of our growth.
Yeah, I want to quickly bring in some politics here, MMC. So the Auditor General, speaking about the audit outcomes of the various municipalities, the city of Johannesburg didn't get a clean audit once again. Only the city of Cape Town, out of the 8 metros, managed to get a clean audit. But to the point that the Auditor General is raising, that the city of Johannesburg is failing to provide quality financial statements, who should take accountability for that?
Aldrin, I want to say, and I want to be very honest on this. We take the Auditor General's concerns seriously. The poor audit outcomes highlight the urgent need to improve our public financial management in Johannesburg. We're actively addressing the past weaknesses in financial controls, procurement, and also in reporting. As I just highlighted, that we are not completely dealing with our MSCOA issue, but we are also having our the crucial accountability of holding our officials accountable. Disciplinary steps and consequent management is definitely one of the things that we are going to be doing. I just said to somebody else about 10 minutes ago that, you know, some of us want to leave a legacy that we have a city that we have not crippled, but a city that is a world-class city. And since taking office, I've launched a financial turnaround strategy focused on tighter controls, stronger oversight, as well as early detection of irregularities. We're also building financial skills, and that is part of what the Auditor General has said. It's not that there are no skills, but it's just that we have to build on those skills and do the right things to ensure that the people's money and government's money is used in a way that is definitely applying to all the laws that are put in place. So we take very seriously what the Auditor General has said, and we hope to have an outcome that is that everybody will be proud of this time.
Yeah, and I want to hear your comment on this, and then, Ndoz, I'll come to you as well. Maluleke says the biggest contributors, for instance, when it comes to unauthorized expenditure, and this is the city of Johannesburg, number one, with the 2.76 billion rand followed by the city of Tshwane. And when we say accountability, MMC, what does accountability really look like? The consequence management. Is there anyone that you can point to right now and say that this individual has been held responsible for this fruitless and wasteful expenditure or unauthorized expenditure?
Well, I can tell you within the entities as well as within the finance, we have gone through that process, and we are looking at where the bottlenecks are and who the people are that is responsible for that. So you will definitely hear soon, but very soon you will hear what we have done in consequence management. We have dealt just last week in a mayoral committee, which will be going to council very soon. We have been dealing with people that has done unauthorized expenditure, and it will definitely be coming out in the city's council, and you will definitely hear about it. We are not going to play with them, Aldrin. I do believe that you do not do what is not supposed to do, and you do not use money, and you do not take money, or you do not spend recklessly on budgets and monies that are allocated for the people of the city, and you'll definitely see consequence management will be in. We haven't had a disciplinary board for a long time, but we do have a disciplinary board now. And whether it is an official, whether it is an MMC, whether it is Margaret, if you are doing the wrong thing, we will deal with you accordingly.
Okay, Margaret Arnolds there, the MMC for Finance. And Ntokozo, your closing remarks on that.
I'd actually like a word from him in speech just ahead of G20, because in the budget, of course, the big talking point is G20 and how it positions the city to actually be that world-class city. How do we make sure, if we're just setting up, you know, that committee that will have that disciplinary power, how do we make sure that all these different war rooms do speak to each other beyond G20 to ensure that these investments actually do yield results? There are people working in the city that we do speak to on a regular basis who highlight some of these structural issues that they do face. So just rolling out and ensuring that there are no interruptions in infrastructure projects, particularly in Johannesburg, to get it back to being that world-class city beyond G20.
The war rooms and the disciplinary committee and everything else is not just for the G20 or the U20 or for the visitors. The war rooms are there for the people of the city of Johannesburg. The war rooms are put up exactly for what you are saying, to bring back Johannesburg to being a world-class African city. I think I've just said it in my speech, that if Johannesburg works, South Africa works, and if South Africa works, Africa works, and that is where we are going to. And we want to leave a legacy that we have fixed the city and we have brought the city to where it is supposed to be going. So whoever comes in and the next government in the city of Johannesburg will have to carry on with what we are doing. They would not even have to say, these guys have not done anything. We are not doing it for the G20, not for the U20, or not for anybody coming to visit the city, but we are doing it mainly for the residents of the city of Johannesburg. And we are going to transform this city into a world-class African city.
Thank you so much, Margaret Arnolds there, the MMC for Finance in the city of Johannesburg, our business reporter, and Dogozo Kumalo joining us in studio as well.